Welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Philip Jovanovic and I'm a doctoral student at Ontario Tech University. The following video will introduce you to a literature-based framework, the Pedagogy and Immersive Experience Virtual Reality Framework, or PIX VR Framework for short. While this framework is still under development, it may provide a sort of roadmap to help guide and make sense and also to reflect on our experiences of learning with IVR. By the end of the video, you'll have a better understanding of how this framework was constructed and also how it can be used. So let's dive in. I just mentioned a minute ago, one purpose of the framework is to reflect on experience. So through my research, the concepts of flow and metacognition offer a realistic and achievable expression of an individual's experience of learning. So let's talk a little bit about flow and metacognition. So flow is a state of complete immersion or engagement in an activity where a person experiences deep focus, enjoyment, and a sense of time distortion. And really the key thing here is that intrinsic reward is the ultimate outcome. Metacognition is our awareness and understanding of our own thought processes. So thinking about thinking is how it's often described. And this also includes knowing when to apply certain strategies and regulating our learning and our strategies. Flow and metacognition represent the potential endpoint of the PIX VR framework. And we'll see in just a minute how we can get there. So moving on now to the first major section of the framework. This is the pedagogy and curriculum section. So first, it has two use cases for practitioners and for students. So for practitioners, it lays out a set of themes to help align pedagogical goals with curriculum design. It's important to note that this section of the framework occurs in non-virtual spaces. So it's used in the planning stages of a course with IVR components or a course existing entirely within IVR spaces. So the planning stage. The second use case is for students. So students use this section to better understand and articulate their experiences in IVR and therefore be able to better reflect on them. So you can see here that that occurs in non-virtual spaces. Then we hop over to the far right side of the framework, and this is the immersion experience section. So this is intended primarily for students. It offers a method for students to understand, articulate, and again, reflect on that all-important benefit of IVR, or what the literature points to as the all-important benefit of IVR. That's immersion. So this has been targeted in the literature since at least the 1990s. So the themes within immersion experiences will be expanded on shortly, along with the themes in the pedagogy and curriculum sections. And so immersion experience, of course, this all occurs in virtual space. So let's take a look now at the pedagogy and curriculum again. And within this section, there are two themes. So theme 1, type of interaction. Theme 2, aim of learning. So the type of interaction is just that. It's a statement of the type of learning practitioners want to engage in and the type of learning students feel they have experienced. So it depends on which perspective you're taking. So within type of interaction, there's 3 possible levels. First, there's the use of tools. So this type of learning is generally hands-on. It requires modeling from a teacher, step-by-step instruction. In an IVR context, this might include operating various tools in a simulation, such as mechanical engineering or flight simulations, or even military simulations. The second type of learning is to create and co-create. This level of learning is well suited for pedagogy such as inquiry-based learning and game-based learning, where really the key elements here or key activities here are ideation, brainstorming, mind mapping, and exploring solutions and problems is paramount here. There's also a heavy social element here in the co-create process. So if we move on now to the third type of interaction, that is invention of self. So this gets a little philosophical. We're looking at deep metacognitive process here, where students develop a sense of identity and agency as problem solvers. This is kind of very constructivist in the type of learning, the philosophy of learning included in this type of interaction. So once the teacher has planned for the type of interaction they're looking for, they can move on to the aim of learning. So two aims of learning. The first one is on objects. So here we're just manipulating objects. We're we're aiming at the proficient use of that object. So in terms of IVR, these could be repetitive simulator sessions. The second level of aim of learning is self. So very closely associated with the invention of self back in the type of interaction. The aim here is for practitioners that have a clear concept in their curriculum of wanting students to evolve holistically across a range of competencies and skills. This could be a good example of this are empathy-based curriculums. So now we have the completed section of pedagogy and curriculum with both themes and their constituent parts. So if we collapse that now into a horizontal view, we can now see that we have a gauge. So there's an arrow pointing from left to right. On the left-hand side, it says surface learning, pointing and increasing to the right, labeled deep learning. So from this, we can gauge, based on the type of interaction and aim of learning associated with the curriculum, we can say that this was somewhat surface learning or leaning more towards deep learning. And now we're ready to hop on over to the immersive experience section of the framework. And we'll dissect that just how we did here as well. So emergent experience has one theme, and that's authenticity of engagement. So authenticity of engagement includes one theme, and this occurs in virtual space. So the first is confirmation, and authenticity of engagement, confirmation, this comes from inquiry-based learning. So the concepts here are borrowed from inquiry-based learning. So when we see confirmation, we can think confirmation inquiry. And confirmation inquiry is really just what it sounds like. You're confirming a pre-made learning experience. You're matching the process and the outcomes. At the second level, we have structured inquiry, or just structured. And at this level, students are provided with a problem and a procedure, but the conclusions are dependent on student investigations. And then we move forward to guided engagement or inquiry. And at this third level, students are presented with a question, but now the procedures and the answers are all student-led. And finally, we get to open inquiry. And at this level, it's exactly how it sounds, completely open. There may be a theme, but this requires students to formulate their own questions, procedures, and solutions. And just as we did previously, we're going to collapse that down into a horizontal view. And we see there's an arrow pointing from right to left this time. And on the right end, or the lower end of this arrow or gauge, we see low presence and agency. And then this increases left to high presence and agency. So presence and agency are the real, matrix that we can use to determine authenticity of engagement and therefore our immersive experience in virtual space. And so presence is the sense of actually being in that environment, in that moment, time and space, basically the physical space disappears. And then agency is that freedom to explore, create, that real open inquiry style learning. So now we can take a snapshot of the entire framework. So that's how it's laid out. We have on the left hand in non-virtual spaces, the planning area, so planning for pedagogy and curriculum. We're looking at type of interaction and aim of learning. We're gauging that on a level from surface learning to deep learning. And then on the other side, we see in virtual space, we're really looking for that immersive experience, and we're going to gauge that through authenticity of engagement, through high presence in agency or low presence in agency. And all of these elements work together, and they, if we achieve high presence in agency and deep learning, through invention of self and focus on the self as the aim of learning, as well as open inquiry, we might be able to, and we'll move on to show how that might work, we might be able to achieve a flow state and really get into deep metacognition or metacognitive practice, such as reflective journaling. And there you have it. That's a snapshot of the PIX VR framework. Thank you so much for listening, and I do hope that this helps you on your learning journey in IVR. Thank you.